Welcome to our Brighton Rock Fight Against COVID-19 informational forum for this month, October already. For several months, we have been meeting with doctors and nurses and community partners to educate and to make sure that our community is aware about COVID-19. Although it looks like the pandemic seemingly is supposed to be over, we all know that it's still not over, and many of us are still affected by COVID-19. As we look back, we see that we have talked about it in different settings, talking about young people, talking about older people, talking about the vaccination, if we should get vaccinated, what about the booster? And so there's so much still to know and to learn about COVID-19. And so B-Rock Fight Against COVID-19 is still underway. And so we thank you for tuning in. And on tonight, we're going to have a panel of guests that's going to talk to us from the millennial perspective about COVID-19 and how it's affected them. We still need to talk about it. We still need to be aware about it. We still need to understand what's going on. So today we're going to engage in a conversation. And so just stay tuned with us. Deborah Carlos, who is doula here in the city of Portsmouth and Hampton Roads, is going to actually be our moderator for this session. And so let's welcome her as she comes on. Hi, Deborah.
Hello. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for being here and sharing as the moderator today. It's in your most capable hands.
Thanks. So like I said, my name is Deborah Carlos, and I am one of your state certified doulas here in Hampton Roads. I currently work at the Up Center. And today I am working with Brighton Rock's Fight Against COVID-19, and I'll be joined by panelists of other millennials that are in the area. And we're going to be talking about how has the pandemic affect us, or how does it affect you? So I want to start off with our first question. As our panelists are coming on, I want to talk about a couple of facts that the CDC says. So the CDC recommends that COVID-19 vaccinations for everyone that is 6 months and up. They also recommend that they have boosters for everyone that is 5 years and older if eligible. So the data shows that the mRNA boosters increase the immune response, which improves protection against getting the serious infection. Even though you can get it, but it won't be as serious if you get the booster or the vaccine. Getting vaccinated provides the best protection against serious illness if a child gets infected with the virus that causes COVID-19. And since there is no way to tell in advance how children who are not moderately or severely immunocompromised, or those who may be immunocompromised, a child can be immunocompromised and still healthy, but they can be affected by COVID-19. So it's important to get them vaccinated as soon as possible to protect them against severe illness. That is what the CDC says. So my first question to everyone is, how do you feel about children being vaccinated?
Okay, well, my name is Shauna Wilkins, and I'm a Norfolk State University intern. And I would just say that my thoughts about children being vaccinated would first be that it's a personal preference. I believe that vaccinations do protect children. However, when it came down to like the COVID-19 vaccination, I did not take the choice to get my daughter vaccinated because at first I just didn't have enough information and was not 100% knowledgeable of how it would truly protect her from getting COVID-19. However, she has since had COVID-19, and I am considering getting her the vaccine just to try to protect her further from this point.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Lindsay Cutlip. I'm also a student at NSU, an intern. So I have to agree with Ms. Shauna. I agree that it is a personal preference, but having had the vaccine and seeing the world around us, I do believe that children should be vaccinated, at least at a certain age. I don't think that if you're 6 months or even 5 years old that you should be vaccinated, because I think that's a bit young. But I think that if you're at least 10 years old and older, that you should at least have the first and second shot.
Okay.
Hi, how y'all doing? My name is Jaquana, and I'm a Norfolk State student. I do kind of believe children should be vaccinated since they're like more susceptible to illnesses because they're young and like their immune system is not as strong as ours is as adults. And like that's just what's been like Western medicine. We're Western medicine. So some of us has been getting vaccinated since we were babies. So now like that COVID has happened, everyone making getting vaccinated like it's bad or like it's I just say do your own research. And but I do believe children should be vaccinated.
Okay. Even in like, they're in school and they're all catching germs and then bringing it back home to parents who may be immunocompromised. So I kind of believe the same that I'm on the fence actually if they should or should not be vaccinated, but I do believe in social distancing and I do believe in wearing your mask and washing your hands and using hand sanitizer on a regular basis. So speaking of wearing masks, are y'all tired of wearing masks at all?
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm not. I still wear my mask. I still wear my mask when I go to out in public, to stores, when I go pretty much like everywhere I still wear my mask. Like it's very rare occasion I don't have the mask on. But for the most part I still wear my mask unless I'm outdoors.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, wearing them indoors for me, I'm tired in a way because I wear glasses and they don't always work best with my glasses and they fog up, but I have to because of my job. So I'm always in and out the hospital. And I'm always, around close people. So I wear my mask in that aspect, but if I'm by myself or if I'm 6 feet away from you, I'm probably not going to wear my mask because it's just, I can't breathe.
Right. And I think the same thing. Like I wear my mask because, it's still safe to do that. But since having COVID, I've developed asthma, right? So wearing the mask poses more challenges now after having COVID than it did before having COVID. So I'm absolutely ready to get rid of them. But in the same breath, I don't want to risk catching COVID again.
I know. And then the virus in itself, it keeps changing. So the vaccine or the boosters that we have, I'm not going to say it doesn't cover that, but it doesn't cover that. So we're going to have to continuously get boosters as they change it to accommodate the new virus that's out there. So, I mean, you got to pick your battles with these masks. So you want to make sure you wear the good ones. What is the KN95 or the N95 mask?
Yeah.
I know we have the just the surgical mask that are just easily disposable, but those aren't always the best ones to wear. And the ones that are the best, they kind of are not the most comfortable either. So yeah, I feel you on that.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing about with masks, like in the glasses and the mask combo is crazy. Cause like I wear glasses, but like I wear contacts all the time because I can't do it.
See, I can't get jiggy with the contacts all the time. Not all the time.
But then it's just like the mask. Like ever since we started wearing masks, it's COVID. It's like I don't want people breathing on me. That's why I wear it. Like I don't want you breathing on me now.
Yeah, because some people think that the pandemic is over, and they are like right here on your neck, and you kind of have to be like, hey, back up a little bit. So, and I guess it just have to be aware of your surroundings. Like if you're at Walmart, because not everybody thinks the same way you do. So you kind of just have to be aware of your surroundings and where you are. So I know at certain places, I definitely have my daughter wear her mask. Certain places, like if we're outside, I probably won't let her. I don't, have her. Won't be too strict on her about it. But if we're going somewhere where we're close quarters, she's wearing her mask for sure. For sure. So how has COVID-19 affected you socially? Has it affected you financially? How has it affected you spiritually or mentally?
So for me, I moved down to the Hampton Roads area March 2020. So I moved down here not knowing anybody. So socially, in general, I'm a socially awkward person. It's a little harder for me to make friends, and I'm kind of an introvert. So it's a little harder for me anyways. And then moving down here during the pandemic. So it was hard, but at the same time, it was kind of easy. And social distancing wasn't a huge it wasn't a huge problem for me. But because I moved down here when I didn't know anybody, finding friends or finding a job wasn't as easy for me socially. Financially, I moved down here and didn't have a job. And I wasn't able to get a job until about the next year because of COVID. So it was a little harder on me, even though I don't have bills or I don't have any major bills because I still live with my parents. So that one didn't impact me as much.
So I would say that COVID-19 affected me financially, but in a positive way, because being smack dead in the middle of the pandemic, everything being remote, I think that I saved more money financially. I wasn't going out as much. I didn't have to spend as, buying new clothes, especially like last school year when everything was totally online. Didn't have to buy my child new school clothes, new, all the supplies and everything. We didn't have to do that. We weren't going out to dinner as much. So I definitely saved money right in the middle of the pandemic. However, I would say socially, it was a little depressing not being able to get out as much, but we did find other things to do, like it brought me closer to my family. So we did more game nights. We did more things just within ourselves. And then I guess it allowed us to communicate more because every week it seemed like the family was having a family Zoom because we weren't seeing each other. So we were on Zoom communicating, talking all the time. So it brought us together as a family unit. So I would say there was some pluses for the pandemic. But spiritually, I will say that I think my faith kind of wavered a little. I know and I trust God, and I believe that He was in the midst of all things. However, it was just like, okay, God, when is enough enough?
Right.
Mm-hmm. For me, I would say the pandemic kind of affects me socially because I'm an on-the-go person a lot. I like to travel and do stuff like that. So when the pandemic hit, I was cool with it, because I was like, man, I need to sit down somewhere. So I was cool with it. But as far as like my social life, like I work on a podcast that talks about national social issues. So we changed our whole rundown to virtual. Like we use Zoom calls, we record our episodes, Zoom calls. We used to record in person in the studio, but when the pandemic hit, we changed everything virtually. Like we even had like game nights virtually and all of that. And like to this day, still we are virtually. Like we haven't recorded like an episode in the studio since like 2020.
I know for me mentally, it was a bit of a struggle for me because around 2020 when it hit, my daughter, she was just coming of the age where she's talking and she wants to do everything, and I couldn't socialize her the way I wanted to because of the pandemic. So everybody was kind of like, yep, no, we not having no more library days. There's nobody at the park. We don't want your kids around me. No. So I really had to find it in myself to find activities, find things to do that would entertain her, because now I'm a stay-at-home mom, I'm working virtually, and she needs, if y'all met my daughter, y'all know she needs lots of attention. So she's been like that since day one. So it was a bit of a struggle for me, and not being able to be around my friends who has children around her age, because they're social distancing and they're isolating themselves too. So it was a bit much for Deborah, just a slap in the face a little bit, but we made it through. By God's grace, we made it through. Yeah. But speaking of socially, the concept of being around people, going out and doing things. What are your thoughts on kissing during the pandemic? I know relationships have been, could be a little strained, especially if you're not living with your partner. How do you feel about that?
Oh, well, I don't know. I feel like kissing, I mean, you just can't be doing it with everybody. But I feel like if it's just your partner, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I had a partner in the entire pandemic, and we didn't live together. We don't live together, but no, we still see each other. We still safe. We social distance. Like if they feel sick, I won't come around, or vice versa.
That part. So is your partners, are they wearing their mask? Are they practicing
Yeah,
social
they
distance? Is
do.
that something that you are for sure that they're actually doing? Because, you know, you go around somebody and they sneeze or they touch a doorknob and they touch it and wrap their face and now they have COVID.
Yeah,
Like,
they get sick a lot, so they take a lot of precautions. Like me, I'm the one that I don't get sick a lot, so they're the one that gets sick a lot. So they take more precautions than me sometimes. Like they be more
okay.
strict on it.
See, I can't get my husband to wear a mask sometimes, so it's a struggle over on this end. And you coming home, like, wait a minute, let me spray you down with Lysol at the door before we start touching.
Right.
What about y'all?
Yeah, so I don't, I'm a single person, right? So I was kind of safe in the pandemic from kissing, right? But even I think that showing affection during the pandemic was challenging because, you know, give me that distance, like take a step back, right? And so even like sharing a drink with my daughter, I did not do it. Just because I wanted to make sure, like, if you have something, I don't want it. If I have something, I don't want to give it to you. So I found that as just a way of protection, just trying to make sure that we all stayed safe. But it was interesting that I was reading something. The CDC said that it was not clear that there's no way to ensure that you have zero risk from the infection. And it actually said that kissing was safe during the pandemic, as long as you knew, you know, that the other person or the other party had not been exposed or was not sick, right. Or if they had COVID, that, you know, if you were planning to isolate or to, you know, not go out, then it was still safe to kiss.
Oh, okay. No, so we're not worried about any germs or anything like that, you know.
But
even
if you and your spouse have it and you both are staying and you're isolating, then I guess.
So what if your significant other, say you're living with your partner and they have COVID and you don't, are you locking them in a room?
You should definitely. Well, I would. I'm definitely isolating. Even if my daughter had it, we went through the isolation process because out of the four of us, she was the only one in the house that had it, right? And so we definitely was like those first few days, and especially as long as she had the fever, just keeping her off to herself. Like when she came out, we were spraying everything down. When she went to the bathroom, just wiping and bleaching everything down, and we made her wear a mask to come out to go to the restroom.
Yeah, baby. Even now to this day, I know we're 2 years and almost 3 years into the pandemic. People are still, you know, elbow bumping. We not high fiving or nothing. We gonna air hug. Are y'all okay with that, or do you guys wish it would go back the other way?
Yeah.
Don't touch me. Don't touch
She
me.
said, "Don't touch me."
I agree with that. Yeah.
I like it from a distance. High five. All right, I see you, and keep it pushing. I love it.
I think it's kind of challenging for me because sometimes I can be a hugger. So I'm the person that may walk up and, you know, to go to hug someone and they're like, no.
No, I'm good with a church hug. You know, that hug. I'm good with that. I'm good with that. I know, Shauna, you stated that a positive thing was from the pandemic was that financially you were able to save money. So what's another positive thing that came from the pandemic?
Just increasing the family time, you know, spending more time with family. My grandmother passed during the pandemic. She passed July of 2020. So it was challenging trying to, you know, have a burial and do all of those things. But we were able to communicate. We were able to stay together as a family, and we were able to keep that unit to support one another. And not necessarily have all of the outside crowd that would be there. Right. So it was more intimate, which is what the way our family structure is. And so that was a positive, that we were able to just keep that bond together and support one another in that small setting?
I'd say for me, because school went virtual at the time, I got to see. I went home a little more often. We sorted it out to where we made sure we weren't sick and we social distance there for a little bit, and then I got to go home and see some family or my friends a little bit. So I think that's like the one positive thing that came out of it was me getting to go home and see my my friends after not seeing them for a bit.
Okay. Oh yeah, that is a plus right there. Family is very important.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it was the meals. I made a lot of good food.
I know that's right.
So that was fun. I didn't eat out. Nah. I didn't eat out at all, for real. But making all those good meals got a downside because I gained weight during the pandemic. I was eating good. And another thing the pandemic did, it helped me put like things in perspective for myself, like to focus on, okay, what do you want to see yourself in for the next 5 years? And that's why I came back to school.
Right.
Yeah.
It really like opened up a different outlook on life, the pandemic.
Right.
And I think for me, a plus would be I was really able to focus on myself and my mental health and be able to practice some self-care routines at home and be able to do that with my daughter. I know one thing that we did pick up was yoga. So we would have her doing like cosmic kids yoga in the morning time when she wakes up before breakfast to get her day started, or we'll go outside in the backyard and we'll do some stretching or anything out there. But it was really important, especially being, I wouldn't want to say stuck in the house, but stuck in the house and not being able to go anywhere. Again, I like to be outside. I like to go nature walking and and all that stuff, and not being able to do that in the beginning was a bit much. So, but yeah. So being able to focus on your mental health was definitely for me. So, are you guys vaccinated?
Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody, we all vaccinated. I know I had to because of work, being in the hospital. So I didn't really have a choice. If I didn't get vaccinated, they won't go let me in. So, what about? Did you get the full vaccination in 2 shots? Did we get boosters?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm fully boosted.
Yeah, I didn't get no
So am I.
booster.
So, what are your thoughts on the vaccination?
So for me, when they first were coming out, I was on the fence about it because it was new and you're like, what's in it? What's it going to do to me? Do I really need it? But then my parents ended up getting COVID in March 2021 and they got super sick. They weren't like in the hospital sick, but they got sick to the point where they were in bed all the time with fevers and they were barely eating. And I had to stay on the other side of the house from them. And that really solidified my choice to get the vaccine when it was available because, I don't really care about me. I'm young and healthy, but they're a little older and I didn't want to risk them getting sick again and it possibly being worse because they've had it before. So that really solidified my choice of getting the vaccine.
I know some people that are even our age aren't vaccinated. How do you feel about those people who aren't vaccinated? Do you try to stay away from them, or how are you feeling about that?
If I can, I will try to stay away from them. Of course, we can't really tell who's vaccinated and who's not vaccinated. But if they come up and say, well, I'm not vaccinated, I'll try to wear a mask around them simply because, like I said, my dad is like super, he has a lot of health issues and they didn't get to take a break during the pandemic. They had to work all the time. So it's super important for me to just make sure that they're healthy.
Okay. What about everyone else? How do you guys feel about the vaccination?
So I originally got the vaccination because it was a requirement, not because I desired to get it. However, after just like seeing the death tolls and, hearing what is said about how the symptoms are worse if you're not vaccinated. I'm kind of glad with my decision to get it because I had some very challenging symptoms during my time with COVID-19. So if I had to do it all over again, I would get it again.
Okay. I know that first shot for me, or no, I'll take it back. The second shot sent me out. I said, if this is what COVID feels like, I don't ever want to get it.
Right. It was the second shot and the booster for me, like both.
Okay. I just can't imagine how people who are immunocompromised that get the virus and aren't vaccinated are feeling, that have to be in the hospital, be ventilated, all that stuff. It's I wouldn't wish that on anybody because I had to be physically carried down the stairs because my body had like the body aches and I was like, I was hurting so bad. It wasn't fun. So I'm on one side, I am happy that I did get the vaccination. I know my daughter, she got COVID once, so she has the antibodies. So I know if she was to get it again, she's not vaccinated. That's a conversation that her and her dad and I have to have. But if she were to get it again, I'm not sure if it'll be worse or if it'll be, like a common cold. So I'm again, up in the air about the vaccination still. Anybody else? Y'all feel all right with the vaccination?
I ain't had no problems with it.
All right. So, have you been satisfied with your work or your school's response to the pandemic? Have they made you feel comfortable? Have they made you feel uncomfortable?
I would say that my both school and work response has made me feel comfortable. So before we went completely remote, I think that they took the right steps towards making it as safe as possible. So they set up the hand sanitizing stations. They required masks. They took temperatures at the door. They required weekly COVID tests. If you were feeling sick, they asked you to stay home, and then eventually we went 100% remote, and we are still about 98% remote now. So I think that they made good strides towards trying to protect us as much as possible.
Yeah, that's pretty much probably going to be our new normal because a lot of people found out that if their job is saying you can work from home and they're doing a good job at still getting their work done at home. So a lot of work from home jobs have opened up because of the pandemic. So I think that's pretty dope as far as work response. And, and as far as school goes, I feel like if you don't have a lab or anything like that, we can be online. We can be virtual.
Yeah.
But how do you feel, Lindsay?
So coming into school during the pandemic, I was actually super happy. They made us be tested there for a year or two before we came on campus, and we had to wear masks in class. We still have to wear masks in class, even 2 years, almost 3 years later. And it's made me feel safe. Again, I'm really tired of the masks, and I wish we didn't have to wear them. But it does make you feel a little better knowing that if you're in close proximity with someone, that you have it on. Right. And they have testing available all the time, and they keep us updated and informed on the levels that are in the area. So the school has done a really good job with COVID, I think, with us.
All right. Juwan, did you have anything to say?
Oh, I just I worked at a hospital, so probably the beginning of COVID started. And I was a bartender on the side, but I really stopped bartending since then. People were nasty.
How was bartending or working in the restaurant industry during the pandemic? What was that like?
Nasty. That's why I don't do it no more. People come to the bar. I remember we had people. People had to sit every other chair at the bar. people will be mad because they don't want to wear masks. Like, I would tell people, like, when you got to wear your mask, like when you come over here to me, well, it didn't say that. People just was nasty. So I stopped bartending.
Oh, wow. That made you not quit the job. That's wild. So, I mean, this is our new normal now, working virtually, wearing our masks, social distancing. So what are your thoughts around adapting to that new normal? Do you think that it's been hard for you, or it's easier? You like it this way? What are your thoughts?
I'm still a little uncertain if I like it or not. I think that change is not always easy, right? And I
Right.
think that before we're completely out of this pandemic, or if we're ever out of it, out of it or free from COVID, I'm not sure what everything will look like. But some things, it's a plus in the change. But some things it's just like, I don't know. Like I want to hug people. I want to sit beside someone. I want to do those things. But I do respect that everyone, still have their concerns about COVID.
Yeah, I don't think we're ever going to go back to the way things used to be.
We won't. And the sooner people accept that, the sooner everything will be all right.
Nah, people be all up in your face. They don't want to accept the new normal. No, because for me, my job is very hands-on and personal with people. So I know because I work with an agency, if somebody was to get COVID, either for our home visits or in the hospital, I'm not allowed to be there physically. But my job turns into a virtual. It turns into virtual, and that can be a little bit challenging for me and my client per se, because I work with pregnant moms. I work with people in labor and delivery. So imagine me trying to support my mom on the phone and the Wi-Fi not good. It's not ideal. So as far as that's a bit challenging for me, but being able to have the option for a virtual meeting is good. Funny, another thing that I found just a bit challenging is because I've gotten so, at one point we were just straight virtual. There was no meeting in person or anything like that, and I gotten used to being able to just roll over, wash my face a little bit, throw on a shirt, and be like, "Hey y'all, I'm here." So you didn't have to do the whole nine, to go out the door and get out the door on time. And now that you can come in person, or you have to show up for work at least once a week, and everything else, I struggle a little bit, just a little bit on that part, trying to get back to the old way. But I'm just, I'm thankful for the rest of the days where I can be virtual at home.
I think I struggled more being virtual than I did having to get out of the house to go. Yes. I think I'm probably the only one that was late for a virtual appointment.
Not a virtual meeting.
Right. Because, you get sidetracked, or you start doing something else. Like, oh, I got 10 more minutes. You start doing something else and you get sidetracked and you don't make it to the appointment. I clocked in more late being remote than I do having to go to the office, because getting out, like I had a schedule. I know I need to be dressed by this time. I know I need to be out. I didn't sit down. I didn't start doing something else. I stayed, to a strict schedule. So it's definitely a change being remote for me.
My timer, my alarm clock has been a lifesaver for me.
Yeah.
I have my little planner in my phone. Ding, 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 ding.
Exactly.
You got a meeting right now. 5 more minutes. Get it together. Have you guys had any challenges with the new norm?
For me, I never thought, like, you hear about people living through history, and it blows my mind. And then, we're literally living through a big part of history, and that, we're never going to get back to the new normal. So, like, the new normal for me is okay. I don't like people in my space, I don't want people around me. But I think it's just the thought that COVID's going to be on our minds for us that have been through it forever. And it's one of those things that'll never go away.
Yeah. And just to think, my daughter she doesn't remember a time where she didn't have to wear a mask.
Oh.
And so for her, this is life for her.
Yeah.
And I wonder if there's ever going to be a time where she doesn't have to wear one and she will feel like, oh, we ain't got to wear a mask. What's going on? So
Yeah.
I wonder, I can't wait, 20 years down the road and see what life is going to be like for her. That's going to be interesting. I never really thought about it like that, but yeah.
One thing about wearing masks, though, that I think was kind of good. I don't even remember having to take my allergy meds last year. Wearing masks, like the allergy season, I think I was doing like really good, not having to take medicine. But now that I'm outside and having to wear the mask, I'm like, wait a minute, I don't remember, feeling like I can't breathe or feeling like my nose is on fire anymore. So I think the mask kind of helps, especially with the season changes.
I never had allergies before I got the COVID vaccination.
Oh, wow.
And I got I was like, the sinuses build up and all this stuff. And I'm like, what is this? And I'm scrubbing my nose and stuff. I was like, you got allergies. I said, is this what y'all go through every year?
Yes.
I said, oh my God. I said, this is not going to be good for me. I don't understand. I said, I want to blame it on the vaccination. I don't know for sure if it was the vaccination that caused my body to change and, make me have seasonal allergies, or if it was just because I'm getting older, your body changes. But I said, my God, I couldn't do that. But the vaccination, I feel like, has caused a lot of, especially in women, because, again, I work with women and I hear a lot of stories about how it changed their cycles or, made it worse, stuff like that. Has the vaccination done anything like that to you guys? Has it changed anything about you or made anything better for you?
Not that
no, just me. I'm the only one struggling over here. Like,
I mean, like the thought of every year your flu, the flu numbers were up, or they came up with flu numbers every year, and the pandemic hit, and everyone was wearing masks, and it was like the flu didn't exist.
Yeah, it went down.
Mm-hmm. And then once we're getting at this point where we don't have to wear masks as often, and everyone is getting sick because that your immune system is so used to the germs and the dirt around you that sometimes it's not masks, it's first. And that kind of baffles me.
You kind of broke up a little bit, but I'm hearing that you're saying wearing your mask, it helped with us not getting the flu, and when we have to, when now we got to a point where we don't have to wear our mask, you're starting to see a spike in numbers again, whether it be COVID or the flu. It is flu season, so I do think people should wear their mask around this time, especially if you're feeling sick or anything like that. Protect yourself and be aware that others need protection too. So yeah. So what is your self-care plan during the pandemic?
I think that I finally identified my self-care plan in the pandemic. I would say going into it, I didn't have a self-care plan because it was just go. So the pandemic slowed me down a lot, right? So I was able to identify things that I like. I was able to identify or go back to some of my hobbies, enjoying reading. And then sometimes taking that nature walk was the only thing that we could do. So I went out walking, I went sat by the water, didn't have to worry about, people being around. But also in the pandemic is when I started seeing a therapist, right? So it helped me to talk about things. It helped me to talk about how I was affected socially during the pandemic, right? So I was able to find different things to do and to put those things in place.
Okay. Anybody else?
Well, I always
go ahead.
Well, I always took pretty much had a self-care plan. I did start seeing a therapist during the pandemic too. It's probably been like a year now. But I've always had a self-care plan, truthfully, because I prioritize my needs over anybody's.
I know, seeing a therapist can be, when you talk about it, it'd be like all taboo, but there's really nothing wrong with seeing a therapist. So, I'm just going to wrap this up, you guys, because it's been a great conversation. I just want to talk about, take care of yourself during this pandemic. Read up on your facts, your COVID-19 facts about the vaccinations, and make an informed decision for yourself. And social distance still is coming in winter season, and this is when you see the most people spikes in numbers. So love on yourself, take care of yourself and your families, and definitely practice self-care. So again, thank you guys for joining me on this talk with Brighton Rock's fight against COVID-19. It's been a real talk. I hope we can do this again soon. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today for our informational session, a conversation with our millennials. Wow, that was interesting, just to get their perspective on how they were feeling about COVID-19 and how COVID-19 has affected them spiritually, financially, emotionally, socially, and even about the vaccine. I saw a little funny faces when they started talking about kissing. That was an interesting conversation as well. So, and even the self-care plan. I think that's really cool that they have one in place, and how the pandemic has even positively affected them as well. And what the new normal is like. Like, are we in the new normal? Are we there yet? I don't know if we're there yet. We're still kind of, in some places you're wearing your mask, some places you're not. Some places it's like the pandemic doesn't exist. And then there's others, in the same space that the pandemic is really, really here. So it's good to hear from this group of people to find out how the pandemic is affecting them. And so we want to make sure that we are making everyone aware that the pandemic is still real. COVID-19 is still among us. Please contact our CDC's website to find out any updates. Contact your local health department to find out more about COVID-19 and the things that you should do, to find out where you can go and get vaccinated. The booster shots are available. Vaccines are still available. And there's more information. You can find us on Facebook at BRock FAC19, and also on YouTube at Brighton Rock's Fight Against COVID-19 Community Project. So find us there. Thank you. Stay abreast, stay safe, and educate yourself.